Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council held at 6 p.m. on September 12, 2023. Kisukukit. We acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamakis, the unceded territory of the Yakutat Nucleate. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. The Kanahunik are from Yakutat Nucleate and are members of the Tanaha-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. I'll call the meeting to order and note that this meeting is being conducted by in-person and electronic means in accordance with Council Procedure Bylaw number 2446. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder with the following recommendation: that if the communication link to the specified place for this meeting is interrupted and cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting shall adjourn and reconvene to the soonest possible time that quorum can be achieved and public notice requirements met. Moved by Councillor Ramirez, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, that's unanimous. I will now ask for a mover and a seconder for approval of the agenda and any late items. Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, also unanimous. We have two sets of minutes to adopt. A mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on August 22nd, 2023. Moved by Councillor Artie Kelly, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing, Councillor Ramirez, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just an observation. Has the minutes been expanded? I just feel like there's just a lot more text this time around. Is it just be the same as before? It just appears like more details.
Yeah, that's a fair observation.
Yeah.
You see each different. I'm trying to think of.
Maybe just the content of the meeting.
Yeah. So in some of the items, for instance, item 9.3, there isn't an action that was recorded, so there's a recording of what was discussed and what was shared. Primarily it's to provide that kind of background, but yeah, there is a little bit more detail in that regard. It's never intended to capture verbatim what was discussed. Further, like item 9.6, similar kind of scenario. That one, that particular item was one that was the one that went into committee and then came back out.
Right.
So a little more action around that. So yes, a bit, but not much different.
Right. Just because I was not here last meeting, it was very helpful for me. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Item 4.2, the minutes of special council meeting held on August 15th, 2023. Can I have a mover? Councillor Nixon. Seconded by Councillor Artie Kelly. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public participation and invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the issuance of the permit, and a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. And I'll ask Ms. Rhodes if there's anybody at the specified place or online who's indicated a desire to speak.
No, Your Worship.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. Which moves us right along to item 9.1, the Ferry Creek Reservoir Rehab Tender Results, a report from Project Engineering Line.
Thank you. Let me just hold this up and run this slideshow. All right. Hello and to everyone. Tonight I'm here to present the tender results and next step recommendations for the Fernie Creek Reservoir Rehabilitation Program. This is going to be a very short presentation. I had actually really hoped to be able to do a deep dive into the budget for Councillor Ramadas, as is typically his question, but based on the results, that is unfortunately not necessary this time. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties too. Why are you not moving? Pardon me. Seem to be. Sorry guys. This doesn't usually happen. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to try to share again. It looks like it's going. Oh?
I don't know what that's.
Sorry, I apologize everyone.
No need to hold it.
Let's try this one more time.
I think you need to alt tab back to your PowerPoint app because you're in full screen Zoom.
Okay.
Unless it's your computer's proximity to directional letters.
That's not fair.
Presentation is perfect.
Go back. Yeah, solid response.
I will do this without a presentation at this point.
If you want to email it to me, I can share it.
It's all right, it's very short. So again, very short presentation, here we go. So following up on my last presentation in August on the Fernie Creek program, we did have a tender out in August for this project work, and the tender included exterior and interior repairs to the existing reinforced concrete potable water reservoir. That included having some confined space entry into the reservoir cells to look for cracking inside to repair, installing a new flush valve on the control building to limit the turnover time that we have right now, installing some new HVAC in the valve chamber, and electrical supporting upgrades for all that work. The invitation to tender was posted in 3 locations, Fernie.ca, BC Bids, and Merck's to try and get as many eyes on it as possible. Unfortunately, we only received 1 bid. And upon analysis by our consultant declared it an informal bid as it was missing a signed page. And also, more damningly, the bid price was much more than our consultants or us had estimated. So our recommendation at this time is to reject the tender, and our next steps, if we go ahead with that recommendation, would be to re-tender early in the new year to better position the opportunity for more eyes and more people having more space on their schedule to attract better bids and more reasonable pricing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lyon. Any questions? Councilor Hammond.
Thank you. Seeing the price differential, will that inform our budget going forward? Or will we maintain the same budget when we go back out to bid?
If I may. So we had, talking with the consultant about this, we had foreseen that there might have been a smaller budget shortfall, but this bid price that came in was almost twice what our consultant had estimated. And our consultant, to get this cost estimate, had gone out to many of the similar subcontractors that this contractor bid with, and the bid prices the contractor provided were double of what the subcontractor had told our consultant. So we believe that this was potentially a throwaway bid. So that's why we're hoping for more reasonable pricing to have more capacity in the new year. But we will probably be coming back asking for a budget increase. early in the new year as well. Potentially along the same lines as in this year, there was a couple projects that kind of went forward early with pre-budget approvals, and we may do that again this 2024.
Councillor Owen?
Thank you, Worship. Just what will it be, how will it be different in January compared to now? Like what is the lesson learned for us?
If I may. So there's a couple things that we may do differently in the next invitation to tender. We packaged everything together in this tender saying you must do all these items.
Okay.
So we may make things more, this is the main, and if you can add on these other items, that would be fantastic. So we don't have to, somebody might not want to do it all. And also we were asking for it to be completed by the end of this year. So the deadline was short. And if people have already filled up their work schedules, they would maybe do it for a lot of money and bump something else. So if we were starting at the beginning of the year when people have not filled up their work schedules, that is our hope.
So but potentially, although given there were some irregularities in the response, I think there was an insurance, letter of insurance that was missing, for example. It wasn't necessarily a throwaway bid, but they might have pursued it had we been willing to more than double the budget.
If I may, colloquially, it's if they were gonna throw this bid in there and if they take it, we'll do it, but,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which amounts to the same thing, I guess, as the throwaway bid. Thank you. Councillor Evans?
Thanks, Your Worship. Was there any kind of early warning about this at all? Like when we went and put the tender out, did we expect that there will be such little interest?
If I may.
Please.
No, I was hoping for more, definitely, because there isn't a lot of reservoir work that's done in the middle of summers anyways, because that's when people typically want storage of water and don't want to take them down. And our consultant has worked with a lot of other reservoir projects in Alberta and was talking it up with them to hopefully garner some interest. So we went in with a positive, optimistic forecast.
Councillor Nixon?
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there a reason why we wouldn't just go out to tender like right now? I mean, maybe I missed it somewhere in the report.
If I may, no, we could go out to tender again and change the timeline. Like say it doesn't have to be done by the end of the year, but I do think I also want to change the invitation to tender to have some necessary and then add-on items maybe to also make it a little more, so just craft it a bit more and potentially ask for some additional money before going back out to tender. Because I do believe that our budget that we have, because we've added on those extra items like the new piping and the electrical upgrades, that wasn't included in our budget that we're carrying right now.
Thank you.
Councillor?
Thank you. Is there any risk to the facility or community by delaying these repairs?
If I may, great question. As far as I understand, no, there's no catastrophic risk of failure, immediate failure. So we would continue to have a reservoir that does have a slight cracking and is weeping a little in places through those cracks, but it is not a catastrophic, break type of issue.
Good question, thank you. Any other questions? I'll ask Mr. McCall to read the recommendation if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. The staff recommendation is that council authorize staff to reject the bid received for the Fernie Creek Reservoir Rehabilitation Project tender and re-tender the project in early 2024.
Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any further discussion? Seeing none,
Just wondering, if you say no to this, what happens? It just gets cancelled?
yeah, this response is canceled. Councillor Schuster.
And our reservoir weeps.
Sadly.
Councillor O'Leary.
Just curious, Mayor Milligan, if the bid wasn't properly signed, Is it even valid?
If I may, something like this is something that we can work through with the bidder, but it is what's called an informal bid. Our consultant said that, so we can reject it right because of that, but it is something we could work through, but with the price, that was the showstopper.
Any other discussion?
Just one final ask, Your Worship, how confident are we with the 900,000 estimate there?
If I may,
Please.
we are not confident. Yes, that was like I discussed back in August, that was a cost estimate that was made a couple of years ago on the initial, so I believe it was more like a preliminary design for the repair and rehabilitation of the reservoir. It didn't include the cost for all of these upgrades, like the piping, the electrical, the HVAC. And then as they refined the materials that they wanted to use, then the cost estimate came into more focus. So we did get an updated Class A cost estimate before we went out to tender, and we did discuss that during the August.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's unanimous, thank you. Moving on to item 10, the former fire hall land disposition request from the Elk Valley Family Society, and we have a memo from our CEO, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. The memo is provided just to provide some context to the request from the Elk Valley Family Society. Typically a communications or correspondence to council doesn't trigger a full-blown report from staff. As I'm sure you can appreciate, you receive significant volumes of correspondence, and to trigger reports or memos for all of those would be a challenge. However, appreciating that inclusion, housing affordability, and housing accessibility have been discussed as priority projects, and related to this, having been considered for inclusion on the back of our Housing Accelerated Fund application into CMHC, federal government, I had discussed with the mayor, and we determined that it would probably be appropriate for a light covering memo. So this very much is just preliminary comments on the request, noting that in general, there could be seen to be staff support for this type of use at the fire hall. Comments specific to the request are such that if we were to provide a long-term lease, we would require alternative storage for the equipment that is stored there and cannot be stored outside during the off-season when not in use. That's a hurdle A until such a time as we have a replacement fire hall or alternative storage solutions for that equipment identified. B, while we have a strong body of information about the facility itself and the materials therein, and would be happy to provide those if council directed such, we do not have budget or capacity to do a facility remediation. And C, we have not conducted an environmental site assessment, nor do we have funding or capacity to complete such for that facility at this time, budgeted or in work plan. Therefore, while staff are supportive of a letter expressing interest in advancing this project, we would look to the applicant or proponent, being the Elk Valley Family Society in New Commons, to further illuminate what those realities are, whether there are external funding streams, and then what commitments might be required from the city in terms of capacity or funding, so that we could respond to that more fully, rather than modifying existing budgets or existing work plans currently. And certainly council's intent would then drive those actions from this type of letter.
Question? From council. Councilor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Do we not have pages and pages of reports that list all the deficiencies with that building and the soil remediation and all the stuff that needs to be done there, or was it just on the outside of the building? I'll retract the soil remediation thing, but.
Your Worship, we have reams of information about the physical characteristics of the building, and I do believe there's some references to the soil and potential contamination, but we haven't done an environmental site assessment or looked at the certificate of compliance program that we'd have to work through, or rather, that a developer would have to work through.
Right. Other questions? Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, that's just off the top of my head right now. So that building was formerly an old tire shop, right?
Correct.
So when the city acquired it, was there an environmental assessment done at that time?
I don't believe so, and I have not undertaken one, your worship and council, for the covering memo.
Right.
That would be something I'd have to go and start investigating if council wished to entertain this. I would look for those kind of background documents to share.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I don't think it's inappropriate to forward a letter to respond to the request, framing not just our limitations, but I don't want to call it a negotiation, but an expectation of how this would likely unfold, given our budget limitations and resource limitations in this, because I think it's a worthy project to explore, for sure. So do we need, Mr. Borowski?
Thank you, your worship. I did have a brief discussion with the Elk Valley Family Society and their partner not-for-profit developer New Commons to outline those sort of constraints and ensure that they still wish to proceed, and they do, and they offer that they would commit to working through that kind of a process, subject to council direction. So that would be the response to your suggestion.
Thank you. And so do we, it's not a request for decision in the agenda. What's our next step then?
If I may, such that, I don't know the timing, so it depends on what Mr. Borowski knows with respect to timing to Family Society and Yukon. I would suggest that if we are considering a letter, that we would draft a letter to bring back for council to consider to September 26th, rather than directing, but trying to craft a letter right now, unless it's absolutely necessary to get one out today.
If I may, your worship, time is of the essence in terms of developing an application and communicating with BC Housing around this intake.
Mm-hmm.
Their strong preference shared with me was that a letter would be provided with some bounds as to the commitment out of this meeting as their preference. My recommendation would be, if I can have 2 minutes with Mr. McConnell, we can quickly discuss an appropriate resolution that provides council a path forward.
That works if council's prepared to accept.
Absolutely.
Sure, okay. Do you mind if we recess for 2 minutes?
Not at all.
I'd say fine.
Or 5?
Fine. Okay. Well, we need a vote to recess?
No, I think you can just ask for it.
You have that power.
I have that. We will recess then until such time as we've crafted a resolution. Ms. Rhodes, will you put us on break? Welcome back. On that note, do you want to comment, Mr. Baranowski, before we proceed? I'll just get Mr. McConnell to.
Mr. McConnell, thank you.
Okay, so the resolution, which is wordy, but is capturing all the proper actions. The mayor be authorized to provide a letter to the Elk Valley Family Society confirming the city of Fernie's support in advancing the proposed housing project, while noting the constraints reflected in the CAO's memo attached to the regular meeting of council agenda September 12, 2023.
Can I have a mover? Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any discussion? Councillor McCaskill.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one question with regards to the proposal is for a 99-year lease of that location as opposed to actual disposition of that property. Our disposition policy is focused very much on exactly that disposition as opposed to leasing, and I'm wondering if that affects the outcome of this or the nature of the proposal or what we would be responsible for because it's a lease as opposed to a purchase.
Mr. McConnell.
If I may, thank you. So the term disposition, as much as it reflects potentially a sale, a disposition is any disposition. So if we consider the legislation, if we do a 5-year lease, we have to do a notice of disposition, just like we would do the occupancy. So I would submit to you that in this case, the disposition policy still does apply. And in particular, when it's a 99-year lease, it's effectively a sale. It's us unloading our ability to do anything like that. So we would want to treat it like a sale as much as anything. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and from a disposition policy perspective, and equally, I think from the requester's perspective, it amounts to the same thing as seen with the childcare and the housing facility that we're advancing as well. So, Mr. Baranowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. McConnell is right. A shorter term lease for part of a facility is distinct from, say, a ground lease or a head lease for an entire property and facility where they may have sublet tenants. They would see that as a more fulsome disposition, and that's where we would look at applying the policy. The one note I would make is we remain in a position where the province, in terms of the ministry, and BC Housing, in terms of the agency funding, do look favorably on lease language and dispositions so that a municipality remains at some point connected, as we do tend to last longer than societies or corporations or other entities in the province, right? We are, in effect, a level of government that has a longevity that other organizations do not. So they like to see a municipality or a level of government tied to the property in some way.
Thank you.
That's very helpful context. Thank you, Mr. Baranowski. We appreciate that. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 11, reports from council members. And this week we'll start with Councillor Audie Kelly.
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. So a little bit of a housekeeping item first. I'm wondering when we might expect the sort of dashboard master project list that we've been asking about for a few months now. It doesn't have to be a fancy app or anything like that. It's kind of the information that we need in alt format. And I just, note that it was recommended in your review that NOVA did and presented to council in April of 2022, particularly page 105 of that report. Just because I think it's really important for all council members to be as informed as possible so that we properly serve the citizens and to also assist staff in the fulfillment of their duties and try to drive our council's strategic priorities. Not expecting an answer tonight, but if we could get a timeline maybe by our next meeting. Thank you.
If I can, Your Worship, absolutely. Council will remember initial draft format for that was presented to council. It remains high on my priority list to try and advance. Capacity has been tight over the summer, as you know, but it remains a priority, and I agree. Both a dashboard list and some reporting on resolutions more regularly, along with financial statements, that remains an objective that I want to combine to support council quarterly.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can provide an improved timeline on that for you in the future.
Thanks, Mayor. And also, if possible, Could we get a little bit of updates or, just a little bit of a synopsis on your Housing Task Force Committee too, Mayor Milligan, just so we're kind of keeping up? So we're not missing out. And now to the kind of more fun stuff. I was really fortunate to have the opportunity to volunteer at the demo derby, and I want to say that it was a smashing success. Kudos to Councillor Shoesmith and his team for another fantastic community event that raises money for charitable and other worthy causes, and is just flat out fun. I also had the great pleasure of attending the Panther Spirit Day and ribbon cutting for the new wing at IDES along with my fellow councillors. And it was delightful to see all the kids with their smiling faces, and it was also an excellent reminder that the future of our community is vitally important to the next generations. I also had the distinct pleasure of volunteering at Chautauqua. Shout out to the Historical Society and the Museum for a really stellar event. The sun was shining, the entertainment was excellent. The talented Corey Dvorak, Lori Bradish, and Lindsay Balance and their team really created a pleasurable community event. I want to give out some huge props to our firefighters for an excellent family safety day. They did great work, and it was really nice to see other partner agencies and first responders were also participating. And I wanted to say thanks to the guys for the tasty cheeseburger. Our multi-talented firefighters are also handy with barbecues. And I want to give a huge congratulations to Fernie born and raised Tyler Palmer, who is the son of Mark and Shari Palmer, who is attending NHL tryout camp with the Seattle Kraken. Tyler, I couldn't be more excited for you or prouder that a Fernie Minor hockey alum is hitting the bigs. We're really behind you. Good luck, kick some ice. And then on a really somber and serious note, I want to send out love and support to little fellow Boston and his family. Boston is a member of Fernie's Aquila and Roussel families, and he is undergoing treatment for leukemia. And there is a fundraiser and silent auction on September 23rd if people would like to participate. And there is more information about the fundraiser, and you can join Boston's Battle Team on Facebook. And thank you, Mayor for the opportunity to report.
Thank you, Councillor Arnie. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I don't have anything to report this time.
Thank you, Councillor Ramirez.
Thank you, Worship. Just like Councillor Roddy said, spend time volunteering at the demolition derby there. Excellent charitable giving from Lions Club. I congratulate Councillor Shoesmith for really, leading a tight team there. It's a well-oiled machine. At some point, perhaps we can utilize your expertise here to do our own Canada Day celebration. Yeah, that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Ramirez.
Thank you. I haven't volunteered at any of these events lately, but I've attended all of them, and they've all been very fun. Was also at the opening of the new school extension, and it's quite an incredible addition to the school community there. Talking with Madame Kite, the principal, there are over 575 students in that school. Also had the opportunity to meet with the Canadian military last weekend when they were in town, and they had a small little presentation thanks to Deputy Chief Scott Robinson, talking about what supports and proceeds, kind of the high-level procedures for engaging with them if there were ever an emergency, critical incident, disaster, what supports they can provide in response. And lastly, I'm really looking forward to UBCM next week. Every time that I have been able to attend in UBCM in person, we've left that conference receiving millions of dollars into the community. So it's always extremely valuable to go and meet people, chat, have a drink with them, talk to them over lunch or breakfast, and see what's happening in their community. And you never know who you might randomly sit down next to. It might be a minister or a staff member. You can have fantastic conversations to grow relationships there.
Thank you. Councillor Shoesmith.
Yeah, a couple things going on in the last few weeks here. The biggest one, obviously, I can't say too much about, is that's I'm on that board. But second biggest thing, I've got the 3300 Club, they're doing their ducky race. If anybody's in the burning itch to gamble, please hit one of our members such as myself up to buy some tickets. Kind of have a lot to sell, so. And,
No pressure.
yeah.
And when do you need to have these tickets sold by, how much is it?
I got a couple more weeks, and then end of the month here, we're rocking us.
Thank you.
Now, what happens if you don't sell them all? Are you in trouble?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
It's
sorry.
one of the obligations to the club. But yeah, also, I've been approached a bunch by several people from a few different service organizations that had run at varying times the concession down at the arena there. And I know we had it posted for some time that was open, but a lot of them were completely unaware of that. So I know legally we met our criterion, but I'm not sure if, how to say it. A lot of those groups don't feel we communicated at all with them, so. And I mean, I know it's not up to us to run around ringing a bell and telling everybody and mailing, but it does feel like we kind of dropped the ball there, guys. Other than that though, Councilor Shusman-Scott, lots of good stuff to report, so.
Thank you. Mr. Baranowski, did you want to speak to that?
I do need to communicate about that because we have multiple times, not once, but multiple times gone to the community with RFPs to run that concession. We have also, as staff, managed volunteers trying to keep that concession live, as well as worked with a service organization, also communicating with service groups to run that concession. And the nature of service groups is that they are wonderful people, but perhaps don't always communicate internally as to who's at the concession or who's running a service organization. But we have been engaged for years on trying to move that concession to a sustainable standpoint. And I'm loath to position ourselves in opposition to a council report, and that's not my intent whatsoever, so I do apologize, but I do need to state I have been in it with staff who have communicated to an extreme degree on the arena concession. And my sympathy goes out to people who may feel they've been caught unaware. As a community volunteer, I know that sometimes happens within my own organizations as well. But I know staff would want me to say and recognize the work that they put into those RFPs and to the direct working the pavement and all that. So.
Yeah, no, I did take a look into the history, and that was actually quite a lot of back and forth and work and effort. I could definitely see that.
Thank you, Council, and I'm sorry if it seems like I'm challenging your statement. I appreciate where they're coming from. I just also want to recognize the amount of work staff have tried to put into this.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just relaying the sentiments of people. That's.
Thank you, Council.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I'm sorry for interrupting.
Not at all.
Oh, it's all right.
Councilor Nixon?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, Wham Bam was fantastic. Chautauqua was fantastic. Wandered around there. Fernie Fire, was quite surprised with the ATV on the stairs and from search and rescue, but that's okay. Everything looked fantastic. I almost signed up for an auxiliary firefighter. I know that they're looking for people right now, but there's a conflict on Tuesdays. So I was unable to fill out the application form. So, but I encourage people to, if they are interested in doing that position, talk to Fernie Fire for sure, because they are looking for people. I also had the privilege to attend the opening of the new Isabella Dickin expansion, to see all the happy faces, and of course to sing the I Love This School song, which we all know. Of course. I did ask about the middle school a little bit and what's happening there from some of their higher ups, and they hope to. They're still trying to find budget for it, I believe. As well, I want to thank Deputy Chief Robinson for setting up the meeting with the CAF and talk about the RFA and the JTFP at the PPL. So, just in case you don't know all those acronyms, it's the Canadian Armed Forces discussing the request for assistance, from the Joint Task Force Pacific at the Park Place Lodge. So that's the first time I think the military has been here, and that I remember, and I think it was really reassuring, you know, that there is a process, because sometimes you feel like it's just us here in the East Coast, right? So to hear this and to know that there's people in Kimberley, in Trail, and the government, all we have to do is do an RFA, request for assistance, and it looks, it's great. So anyways, that's my thing. I'm looking forward to UBCM. To reiterate what Councillor Hamilton said, next week is going to be really busy for us. So that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Nixon. And I would echo your comments about the Joint Task Force Pacific. Very informative process, and even that note that if we have a request for assistance, they will help us craft it such that it lands correctly with their organization. So it was very, very enlightening, and I got to ask a bunch of questions that have been plaguing me. So I was grateful. I'm grateful to get to know those people, and I was given a challenge coin, and I understand the officer is going to be present at UBCM, so he's buying me drinks, which is I'm also looking forward to. And yeah, as everybody has said, a lot of events in this community, and all of them excellent. I tried to take in as much as I could. I apologize, Councillor Susan missed the Derby. But pretty much everything else. Managed to make it to Chautauqua. The ladies, Catholic Women's Auxiliary hosted, and the Family Safety Day, all excellent. Wham Bam, always a great event. Really enjoyed that. And last night attended the community group showcase at the community center, and families signing up for various things, and in a conversation with our CAO, felt a bit smaller than it has in the past. I don't know if that is a post-COVID thing or what that is, but given the number of children in the community, it's maybe just people that are signing up in other ways. And thank you, Councillor Audie Kelly, for raising the Housing Solutions group. I will forward the minutes to folks so you see what the conversations are. And tomorrow we have a meeting of the offshoot group of that, the emergency shelter needs meeting to prepare for cold weather and supports, potential supports, including warming centers for the winter. So we'll work with among Deputy Chief Robinson, amongst others. Yeah, and as it's already been stated, looking forward to my first UBCM next week. So, thank you. If there's nothing else, seeing none, we shall adjourn the regular meeting. Thank you for joining us this evening.